Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah Cruz with Embrace Ayurveda, and today I have a very special guest. Christine Eck is the director of the Center for Sacred Windows Studies, and I've been following her work for some time because at her center, they focus on postpartum care in the Ayurvedic tradition, which is a topic so dear to my heart. And even for years, some years ago, I specialized in that topic, and I used to serve families with postpartum and saw the value and just feel like it's one of the most important things for families to receive is this depth of loving care coming from the tradition. So, Christine, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's really wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you have really brought this wisdom forward in a broader way because in the Ayurvedic tradition, postpartum care is so important. And I feel like we're starting to really get it more in the West. I know in certain countries in Europe, for example, families, mothers and fathers or both parents will have a good amount of time off from work postpartum. But in North America, from my observation, it's quite common to go back to work 6 weeks or even sooner in some cases, but we're learning that a little longer is better, and not only the time off of work, but the way that we nurture the mother and the whole family. So, Christine, what you do primarily is train people to care for women and families postpartum. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's really exciting to see the awareness and the excitement for creating a better support system, creating greater general awareness for how can we make this time period one that isn't characterized by depletion or struggle or depression. That's really what so many people think when they hear that word postpartum. And it's really a misguided um, idea that our society has helped shape for us, because really everybody who brings a baby into the world is going through a postpartum window. We call it the sacred window because Ayurveda has this beautiful understanding of the potency of healing that's possible during those windows of time. So really, I never stop getting inspired by this work because I think that all of us, whether or not we give birth or not, have access to these sacred windows of time where when we just stop and appreciate and acknowledge the beauty of life in those potent moments, we really have such treasures in store for us. So our center really focuses on teaching anybody who wants to care for others, whether it's as a doula, in the doula profession, or whether it's loved ones who want to know how to take care of their, daughter or granddaughter or friend. It's really for anyone who's ready to learn a new perspective on how we can actually heal to an incredible degree during this window of time.
Absolutely. Well, I love how you pointed out these transitions in life, not only postpartum, but other transitions that we experience. And I've seen that the way that we nurture a mother postpartum is also the way we can nurture someone if they've been through a challenging time in life or some trauma, or if one is stepping into menopause rather quickly, or there's just a big change happening in life. These kind of postpartum Ayurvedic principles can be applied in other ways too. It's just so nurturing by its nature.
I love it. I find it for myself. My children are growing older. I'm not in that sacred window of postpartum anymore, but I'm still using these principles in a number of ways. I feel like, particularly in our very fast paced Western culture, we're really experiencing a lot of pressure on a pretty daily basis, whether it's, the pressure to be productive in our professions, in our, the ways that we parent now we were just talking before the recording of all the activities that our kids are doing, and all of that creates a pace that's difficult to even keep up with. So the idea of these principles of care are really about integrating resilience, being able to develop our resilience in a really seamless way, where as we are navigating all these high pressure things, we have a well of nourishment within us that allows us to enjoy our lives, even while it's big. So the idea of sacred window care is that during these potent windows of transition, we're creating resiliency that then we're able to utilize decades down the road as we parent, as we partner, as we live, as we, achieve our dreams. And that to me is really the juice of life that I feel like all of us are so excited when we discover this perspective of care. And it's so cool because it's not, Ayurveda's from, an Indian tradition, but we see synchronicities of care all around the world. So we're so blessed to have, the documentation, the sources where we can go and learn the Ayurvedic perspective. But I get so lit up by the commonalities that these principles have with ancient traditions of care from every corner of the globe.
Absolutely. Yeah. So many ancient traditions do honor this sacred window of time after a baby is born, acknowledging it's not just for that time, but it's for the whole lifetime for the family, the mother and the whole family to kind of anchor, seal that bond and rest and nourish. And in Ayurveda, we acknowledge as well that when a woman nurtures herself and receives that depth of care, for this 6-week or longer period of time, that it directly influences her whole life, yes, but especially her perimenopause and menopause transition, that can ideally lend to a more graceful, more balanced transition at that time in life. Have you seen that to be the case?
Yes, I love that so much. I think that was one piece that really blew my mind when I first began studying with our teacher, Yisha Oaks. We have a common thread in learning from Yisha's wisdom, but it really impacted me when I could see and understand that full spectrum of how care early on impacts care later on. And also just so beautifully honoring each woman's rite of passage as she moves through life. Um, to me, that's like soul care. It's on a core level that yeah, that really echoes how the body, the mind, the heart, the senses, they're all part of a path of healing and a path of healthy living.
Yes. And I am also so grateful for our common teacher, Isha. Thank you for bringing her up. She really brought these teachings to the world in a bigger way, and you're carrying that torch forward. And I love it. Christine, you are an Ayurvedic specialist and practitioner and a mother of 4 children. I'm wondering if we can hear a little bit about what brought you to this place. What had you arrive at deciding to serve in this way to teach and train people about Ayurvedic postpartum care?
Oh, thank you, Sarah. It's really, I love hearing these stories of people too, because we all arrive at this like fire in our hearts for this topic in our own ways. But I think my story is somewhat similar to many that I've heard, and that my first childbirth experience, while my childbirth experience was very empowering, I was really blindsided by the struggle that I felt in those early weeks, and the doubts that I had about my own body, my own abilities, my own um, healing, everything from breastfeeding, which became so much harder than I thought it would be, to just feeling good, feeling feeling like I wanted to feel in that postpartum window, which I thought would be pretty natural and blissful. So when that didn't happen, I maybe like a year and a half later went to school for Ayurveda. I was sort of like mothering my baby and independently studying Ayurveda, and I became pregnant again. And I thought, I have to see what's here for this tradition of care because I don't want what happened before to happen again. And so a friend of mine in my program pointed me to Yisha's work, and it was as though like a veil was being lifted. And I could now see so many tools out in front of me that addressed every single thing that felt really hard. And I really found it very emotional, actually, to start to study that material because it brought up the disbelief that all of this is here and so many people don't know. So I knew right away that when I graduated, I would create my practice around supporting people in this window of time. I was able to really support myself and gather a support family around me that knew what I shared with them about what kind of food I knew I wanted to eat, how I, you know, got people to help in other areas to take some load off of me. I knew about the body work now. There were so many tools that I had access to. Even without having an Ayurvedic doula there, I still was able to do a lot just with knowing. And so I had a beautiful practice of working with families and applying this knowledge. And eventually, I think it was with my third pregnancy, I took a little break and I really just focused on myself and caring. Like it was a lot of work at that time with all those little ones. And so I really was continually applying those principles. And when Yisha became ill and passed away, it was as though there was a call to keep her legacy going in a way. Like, how can people continue to learn this important knowledge? And so I feel like the universe really brought me together with my co-founding teachers, and this path has continued. And I'm really honored to be on it because, as I said before, it's not, and we kind of mentioned, it's it's targeted to the postpartum window, but it's applicable for all transitions throughout life. So for us, we really feel like, and I know you feel this too, Sarah, it's like the foundational knowledge of understanding health and care, like giving good care, that we all need to know about in order to care for one another, in order to care for ourselves. So it's a privilege and truly an honor.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Well, you have an embodiment training coming up in July, and we were talking recently. You were sharing with me about how in this training, people are coming together in person for a retreat. It's a retreat setting. And not only will your students be learning the postpartum modalities and how to care for families, but they will be experiencing all these treatments, eating the diet, the food that is given postpartum, as if they were a postpartum mother themselves for that week. And so I love that. I feel like to really be able to offer something, it's important to know how it feels in your body. Like the first time I received panchakarma, I really got what that is for my clients to receive panchakarma. So I think for your students to be able to have that opportunity to feel these things in their body is quite profound. Can you share with us about that retreat?
Yeah, it really came together in a very inspired and natural way. We knew we wanted to create an in-person training certification for people to learn the body work, to learn the cooking. All of that for so many of us is really learned best when we're in community in person with one another, even though I'm so grateful for online programs because it creates access in places where it wasn't before. So I have great gratitude for the technology in that way, but to be in person is so refreshing. But what we realized after we ran this retreat the first time is that as we were teaching these things, it naturally became an experienced sacred window for every person present, and that includes us. I had a goal that every person, including our training team, would all receive an abhyanga, a treatment. We would all be eating this incredibly nourishing, rejuvenative food for every single meal. We would create the sacred container for everyone to really experience true care. And we were talking about it recently as a team, and it's, when is the last time that each of us as busy adults really felt cared for, especially when we're moms, like we're giving, giving, and doing. And we do it with love because that's what we do. But when is the last time we sat back and really let somebody care for us? And that's like a whoa to me, that because I don't know that I could really answer that very well in the way that I would want a loved one of mine to be able to answer that question. So this is that. It's a training, but it's also really honoring yourself as the caregiver in whatever capacity you offer care in the world. So we're very excited. And I'm grateful to you for mentioning it because it is something that so many people, I think, are craving since we've kind of had to pull back from hands-on things. Now we get the opportunity to do it, and it's oh so satisfying.
Yes. Yeah. What an opportunity for your students to really feel that in their bodies and bring it back to their clients, to their families that they serve. Christine, it's occurring to me, it'd be great to share with people what Ayurvedic postpartum care includes. For example, if a doula or a caregiver goes to the home, how many sessions per week or how many within the next 2, 3 months is recommended? And then what do those sessions look like? Like, what can a family expect to receive during that time?
I love this question. I will begin the answer of that question by saying that it can look whatever way the caregiver would like for it to look. I think that each of us have a unique circumstance in terms of, you know, what our family life is like, what the demands of our lives are like. So that will dictate how much time we as practitioners can give to each family, each person. Sometimes people are doing work virtually. But when we think of Ayurvedic postpartum care, sort of the full spectrum of that care, we're thinking about the sacred touch, the body work, which is really centered by the abhyanga, the warm oil massage treatment. And in a traditional Ayurvedic postpartum window, this would happen every day for the first 42 days. So I've had clients where we've done a full 42 days, and I've had clients that, choose a smaller window or a package. So that to me is one of the most beautiful things and like services that we can offer to someone postpartum, because it really um, it it impacts the healing on all the levels. It's impacting the nervous system. It's certainly impacting the tissues, but it's also supporting digestion and lactation. So we have so many benefits from that. And that includes, the baby too. We're teaching families how to do the Ayurvedic infant massage, which is such a beautiful practice. And that's for the whole family to learn. I love to teach older siblings and partners how to do that massage for their babies, and it really creates that bonding release, hormonal release for people who are not the breastfeeding parent. They get to have that bonding experience through that massage. Another big piece of it that we generally don't know about from our Western perspective is rebuilding the digestive fire, reigniting our Agni. We really have to start at a very simple place when we're postpartum. We can't begin just eating all the complex foods that we were eating beforehand. So understanding that, a brand new parent is going to have different digestive needs than a parent at 6 or 8 weeks. So we really get the opportunity to and play with different cuisines so we can apply the principles for postpartum nutrition to really any type of food background, which is really fun to do and connect with the person's ancestral foods that they feel really comforted by. And then it's really about honoring, creating that space for subtle integration. And sometimes that's through ceremony. If a person really resonates with ceremonial practices, sometimes it's with, music or dancing or sacred movement or, reading or writing, like any way that we can really help that person feel that they're processing the beautiful thing that they've just done, in whatever way that story looks. So I think that's a big piece of what's missing in our Western culture is that initiatory piece. You've gone through this incredible initiation, and there's many ways that we can create support and honoring during that time that really subtly kind of brings the whole thing together. If we feel witnessed, if we feel heard, if we feel like we are really honored for what has just happened, that creates a different kind of healing
Mm.
than if we feel like I feel so different, yet nobody's treating me like anything really different happened. And now there's this mismatch, so it's a bit hard to describe, but it's, we have the body, we have the food, we have that subtle piece, the body, mind, and spirit. So it's a beautiful, flexible framework. Some clients will have you come multiple times a week for several weeks. Sometimes it's a smaller package, but ultimately we want people to know what care actually looks like and whether or not they are able to hire a doula for the whole time or some of it. They know what their body needs and they know how to feel better.
Yes, and this honoring piece is so key. I love that you brought that up, Christine. Just honoring the woman and that experience, that sacred window. It truly is a sacred time. So just allowing for that slowing down and letting her take her hands off of all the tasks of the household for the most part for some time. And whether the postpartum doula or caregiver comes once per week or every day, oftentimes what I've seen is that they will inform or instruct the family members how to continue some of that in the house when they're not there, or how to give mama a foot massage, or how to cook these nourishing meals, or here are some recipes for your meal train to have some ideas. So it's an empowering and nurturing process, but also supportive for the whole family and extended community, which I love that because it creates a bigger bond, I think, for the family's community.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's impactful for everybody in the family. And really, as we see our loved ones receiving this type of care, as we receive this care ourselves, we're going to continue that as generations go on. So it's really exciting for me to think long term of the impact of good care, that it just ripples out into the future generations. And that feels pretty amazing.
Yes. Well, we have this in common. I feel like you and I are both out to nurture people, nurture women, nurture families, and how that really does ripple out. And so I feel like in our world these days, there's so much vata dosha, movement, activity, stimuli from all directions. And giving birth itself is a huge act of movement of vata dosha. And that time postpartum is considered a delicate time for vata dosha. And so all these things that we consider and that you train your caregivers to provide directly calm and nurture and settle that vata dosha, which brings that sense of peace into the home. And as you talked about, impacts the nervous system, not only for the mama, but for the baby. As that baby is growing during those delicate weeks and months, I feel like that gentle energy in the home has such deep impact on them as well.
No doubt. No doubt. It really is. I think I got so excited when I realized that what my baby needed was so much of what I needed too. Like the synchronicities of our needs were shared in a way that I hadn't initially noticed, but it felt so beautiful to recognize that. And then as the caregiver, I love to point that out to families that you are a beautiful unit and we're caring for you both with equal measure. And that just changes someone's inner landscape when they are mothered as a grown up. It
Mhm.
really is beautiful.
I think we all want that, right? To be mothered as a grown up.
Yeah, I need that sometimes. That
Yeah.
gives me the resiliency I need to keep doing the hard work of parenting.
Yes. Oh, well, this embodiment retreat is such a gift. And I hope that anyone who is able can attend. What is the location for the retreat, Christine?
Sarah, thanks. Yeah, we are in Western Massachusetts, beautiful Western Massachusetts. The retreat is in July, the 15th through the 20th in Montague, Massachusetts.
All right.
So we have that opportunity. And for people who aren't able to travel, we offer online certification as well, which runs multiple start dates throughout the year. But it's truly a privilege. And I feel like, your work is so important in helping the caregivers understand that in order to be able to keep giving in the way that I want to give, I need to create I need to create a balanced place of being for myself. And so you are doing the work of really helping people to establish their routines that create that sense of balance and resiliency for them. So I feel
Yes.
like it takes all of us in all the different ways that we're approaching our work, but I'm really grateful to you for all that you do.
Thank you. I'm just so grateful for our teachers and our extended Ayurvedic community. Sometimes I won't see colleagues for 10 years, and then we'll meet at a conference, and it's like we just met last week. Like there's a nice connection of family. We just get each other, and we're so committed to Ayurveda and sharing this wisdom with the world. I feel, yeah, grateful for the broader family connection that we share. So your online programs, do they run throughout the year? If someone is in a different part of the world, a different part of the country, and they really want to integrate this into their life and their practice, when could they join something like this?
Really, we have multiple start dates, but people
Okay.
who are opting for a self-study model can sign up when they are ready to sign up. I
Okay.
fully believe that when you feel called and you feel
Mhm.
that fire, then that's
Right.
the time to begin. But we have students all over the world. It's really important to me that access is there for people who may have babies and can't travel, or who may be, whatever our circumstances are. If we
Yes.
feel that call to learn, it's important to us, and that's foundational about our program, is that you can study and we'll help you and we'll support you. So it's really been a program that has grown in breadth and um, so many different special, rich ways. So it's incredibly satisfying. It was our first baby, and we continue to grow it. But that's available too, and it's incredibly inspiring to see the variety of people who come through the doors, the virtual doors and the physical doors. It's always a good fit. We're always happy to be there for them in whatever ways they need, because it's diverse for everyone, the way that we want to utilize it. So that's just like Ayurveda is so individualized. That's how it is when we study too. We need different things as learners.
Yes.
So that's how we approach it.
And you have your courses, you have an online shop where you have different things available, books and materials. You have a podcast too, Christine. Can you share about that?
Oh, yeah, the podcast was really a very natural, wonderful, fun thing that just kind of came out of all the beautiful people that I've met. So, Sarah, I'm sure you'll be on that podcast sometime soon, because I want to hear more about your journey. But yes, the Sacred Window podcast is such a lovely place. I have really been so grateful for the different conversations that have been had there that have blown my mind. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, we gotta do another one, because I'm not done with this conversation. But it's about postpartum, it's about transitions, it's about sacredness, it's about the path of the caregiver, it's about the individual spirit. It's really become a home for conversations of the heart in different ways. And so it's a special place.
Well, I want to encourage everybody to go listen to Christine's podcast and check out her website. Will you share your website with us, Christine?
Yes, it's just sacredwindowstudies.com.
Okay.
Sacred Window Studies on Instagram. We're there and we're always happy to connect and talk about this work.
Well, it's a personal wish and desire of mine to see more Ayurvedic postpartum care available in every city, in every town, every village in the world. When I was living in Seattle and practicing there, I wanted this for all of my pregnant clients to have this kind of care. And I felt like there is a need, there's a growing need for postpartum caregivers and doulas. So I imagine in 10 years from now, there will be many more. So I'm so thankful for your contribution to this and really lighting that fire of wisdom and passion for this pathway. Christine, as we wrap up, I would just love to ask you to share some words of wisdom about anything under the sun, anything that you've been thinking about or contemplating yourself these days, just something that's been on your mind that you might want to share with us.
I love that question. Thank you, Sarah. I think what's initially coming up for me is the practice of presence and how in every moment of my day, however mundane it feels, I'm trying really hard to be in that present moment, to be really connected fully, whether it's having this conversation with you and there's other things happening in my sphere too, but I really just deeply want to be here with you in this conversation. Whether it's getting my kids out the door, it can be really easy to feel like crazy militant mom mode. So I find that practice of just taking a deep breath and putting all my attention on this very moment seems to create a ripple effect of feeling in balance, of feeling resilient, of feeling like myself. So it's a practice. I'm doing it all the time. But just like anything, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yes. Thank you for that. And like you said, it's a practice. And I'm always giving my clients permission as life spins us out in many directions to come back to our practice. We can always come back, no matter how far away we get from our practice, we can always come back. It's always there waiting for us. And as you were talking, I was thinking of the words of Dr. Ladd. He talks about this choiceless passive awareness, that moment to moment choiceless passive awareness. And in those moments, is that deep sense of peace. And sometimes the ahas, oh yeah, that's it, or the enlightenment moments, or, those special moments can come in that stillness as we bring it through our day. And of course, life happens and we spin out and then we keep coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the beauty of being human. We get to keep
Yes.
rediscovering it.
Yes. Well, I am so inspired by talking with you today, Christine. I'm going to share with everyone about your programs because, yeah, like I said, it's a deep wish of mine that these services are available in a broader way. So I'm very grateful for your work and I look forward to continued conversations with you.
Oh, so many thanks, Sarah. I appreciate you, and I'm excited to continue to collaborate in our mutual efforts.
Thanks so much, Christine.
Thank you.